All right, dearly beloved, welcome to the 35th edition of Thriving in Business Without Social Media. I'm Bradley Morris. I am 8 years of social media free, and I'm happy to say life is bright on the other side. And I'm imagining you are all here because you too want to figure out how to escape the matrix and live your life free of social media. So I have done this 35 times in the last 2 years. We've had over 5,000 people register for this workshop. It's received really amazing feedback. If you don't like social media, you are not alone. I always love starting this workshop with a simple question. So share in the chat. Why do you wish to escape from social media? Why do you want to leave the social media matrix? It's a really important question because if your why is not big enough, you're just gonna stay where you are. All right, it's a time suck. It's messy. You want to be in control of your own destiny. Beautiful. For mental health purposes, it's destructive and slimy. You don't like the dependency on it. You are an introvert. It's hard to do. It's toxic. It seems to lead nowhere. Uh, what else do we have here? You miss real world interactions. It's ugly, it's creepy, it's energy sucking. Okay, so these are it's very common. All of the reasons that you share here are the reasons why so many people before you who have done this workshop also want to get off social media. So my question for you, and I love this question as well, is on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you enjoy being on social media? 10 being you absolutely love it, you couldn't imagine life without it, and 1 being you're ready to leave today. Wow. Nano 6. I have rarely seen anybody over a 5 in this workshop. So that's saying a lot. Jessica is a 10. Amazing. Well, you'll still learn some amazing strategies today that are going to support you on your way without social media. Because it's good not to put all of your eggs in a basket. But as you can see in the chat here, it is mostly 2s and 3s and 1s and 4s and some 0s. So that tells us something. That tells us something. Uh, and in this workshop, so I'm just going to share a little bit. Today, my goal is to share a little bit about my story of why and how I left, what happened when I left, and the hard reality I faced after leaving, and then the 19 relationships-based marketing strategies that I have personally figured out, used, and implemented, and still implement on the regular for Magic Media, our kids publishing company, Magic Kids, and for all of our Magic Media partners that we work with. So get ready. Get ready to take some notes, and we're going to create your escape plan today. Does that sound good to everybody? All right. So for me, why I left social media, I think similar to all of you, it was an energy and time suck, and it wasn't actually getting me the results that social media marketers promise. So there were some other deeper philosophical reasons why I left. Rather than divide us, it connect or rather than connect us, it divides us. I think that is more obvious now than 8 years ago when I left. Rather than being inspired, we feel anxious when we're engaging on these platforms. Rather than building friendships, we get followers, which when you think about that, I remember when I started Facebook at the very beginning, and it was so cool to connect with family and friends because I moved 5,000 kilometers away from them all. But then it became this other beast. It became a marketing tool. The algorithm really made it hard to connect with the people that we wanted to connect with. Rather than creating more connection, we have more loneliness than ever before. If you're out in the world or you're at a restaurant or you're out in the streets, you just see everybody is staring down at their devices rather than connecting and playing with each other. Rather than feeling safe to share our thoughts, we censor them or they're censored for us. And rather than being free, we become addicted to our devices. And for me, my motivations 20 years ago when I dropped out of college and decided I'm going to be an entrepreneur was I wanted freedom. And when I look around at the world today and I look at how people are using their devices and I look at how people are using social media to market themselves without a lot of results, it is the opposite of freedom. It is a trap. And today we're going to free ourselves of that trap. So I had a final straw moment I'd been thinking about leaving social media for 3 years before actually leaving. I created a Facebook group called Evacuate Facebook, and I wanted to get off. I didn't know how. My whole marketing strategy was tied up in posting 3 times a day, creating content, doing videos, making articles, engaging with people, trying to sell my programs. It was all on social media. But 8 years ago, I was blessed with my son, and we were also working on a new chapter of our business at Magic Media called the Great E-Course Adventure. We created this epic online course that kind of was like Indiana Jones meets Saturday Night Live in a business development course that teaches you to build the greatest course you could possibly imagine. And so I was off on a hike. It was the coolest thing I'd ever worked on at that time. I'll just say that. It was this first time in my entrepreneurial career where my artist self and my business self got to merge and collaborate on a project. And for me, I'd always kept those two things separated. I thought I had to be a professional coach and I had to be an artist in my spare time. And that was when my worlds collided. And that was when Magic Media became Magic Media. And so I was on a hike by myself. I'm watching the sunset and I'm reflecting on this new business enterprise, how inspired I'm feeling, and that I've got this new baby boy in my life, and life was feeling really amazing. And as I'm watching the sun go down behind the mountains on Mount Erskine on Salt Spring Island here, I all of a sudden caught myself pre-writing the post I was going to put on Facebook later that day that would describe the moment I was in, and therefore I left the moment, and it was that moment that I realized that my thoughts were no longer mine. My experience was no longer mine. Mark Zuckerberg owned that experience, and it felt like these slimy tentacles had reached into my blissful reality and stole it from me. And I went home that day. I felt like that was the final straw. And I told my wife, Celeste, I'm leaving social media tomorrow. I reached out to my friends, I collected contact info, and I deleted my accounts the very next day. And that was weird and scary. What I've come to learn over the years is that the world does not need more social media. It needs more social connection. And I came to realize this over the last 8 years of trial and error of trying to figure out what the heck to do. So let me just share the brief story of the aftermath of what happened. So you would think I have 5,000 followers and friends on Facebook. You would think that people would be texting and phoning me and inviting me to parties and other means other than Facebook. That they would be calling or texting and be like, hey, there's a party. Hey, do you want to hang out? Hey, why did you leave? What's going on? Is everything okay in your life? It was literally crickets. I did not hear from anybody. We were 3 years new on the island that we're on right now. And so we didn't have a big community around us. And I literally felt like I got erased, which I think is the reason most people don't leave Facebook or social media, wherever you're plugged in, is you're afraid of feeling like you got erased. And I got erased. And it was such a trip. But it was the trip I needed in order to tap back into reality. Because you may have all these friends on Facebook and social media. You may have all these people that you're connected to that you check in from time to time and you see their pictures and you feel like you have a relationship. But when shit hits the fan in your life, when you're sick, when you have a baby, those are not the people that are bringing you food, that are bringing you support, that are gathering around you. That is not what happens. Nobody shows up because it's all just an illusion. And today we want to pop that bubble of illusion. It is not real. What is real is the village you build around you. So that's what we did. My wife and I set out to create Village. I accidentally started a men's group called Man Ventures for almost 7 years. With the exception of this summer, we took a break. We've met every Tuesday. Whatever guys show up on Tuesday, decide on the adventure the following week. And we have had some of the most unbelievable experiences that I won't get into right now. That's a story for another day. When a man's having a baby in the group, we show up and we chop their winter supply of firewood. We do meal trains. We support. We come together and we create community. we're raising our kids together. I started a subgroup called Dad Ventures. And so at least once or twice a week, myself and dads get together with our kids and we go on cool adventures and have fun with our kids. My wife started a group, same thing, accidentally, out of a need, out of loneliness, out of a desire to connect with our local community. She started a Mama Hive community online, and she has grown that to our island has a population of 10,000 people, and she's grown that group to about 1,200 moms and grandmothers. And it has been this incredible connection hub of support and shared wisdom, shared resources on our island. And there's been so many lives that have been blessed as a result of that community as well. So, in the journey of developing the real world relationships in our hub around us, I learned a lot of things about building relationships, which can translate directly to your business. But before we get to that, I just want to ask you, what would you do with the extra time you're investing in social media? Let's just say Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, all the platforms went down. What are some of the things that you don't have time to do or you don't think you have time to do that you would start doing? Maybe make art. What else would you do, everybody? Share in the chat. These are the whys that are really important. You'd learn French. You play guitar and sing more. Another play guitar. You two should jam. Climb trees, make art, go outside. More time in nature with your kids. Go salsa dancing. More time in nature. You would read, crochet, be outside, connect with people, write more. This is what I'm talking about. These are the things that social media is stealing from you. Your unmarketing plan on social media is stealing these experiences. They're readily available today. You can shut off the phone and you could do all of these things today. And we're going to get to how you can still market yourself and invest less time and get better returns on that investment of time. So for me, 8 years later, a lot's changed. I had a big dream 8 years ago, and my dream was to play professional golf. My dream was to write. My dream was to create. It was to have adventures. It was to build community. And so much has changed. I've actually grown my business year after year, every year since leaving social media. And think about that. Everybody thinks they got to be there. My work days went from 12, now they're about 6 to 6.5 hour work days, and I'm running multiple businesses, and I have a big team, and I've just become more efficient and focused. Every day I go to work, I feel like I'm playing a golf tournament. And that is another thing. I'm playing professional golf on the Vancouver Golf Tour. I golf 6 mornings a week. My dog walks with me on the golf course. I take my kiddo for adventure times every afternoon. So much because I let go of those distractions. So I have more space for focus and the things that I want to do, which is, I think, what we all want. So here's a magical formula that will help you understand if you're wasting your time or not. So the first question is, how much money do you make? Let's talk on the monthly. How much money can you track that you're making on the monthly from your time invested on social media? Is it $0? Is it $1,000? Is it $10,000? So think about that. Write it down. You want to write these things down because writing it down makes it feel more real. So we're getting a bunch of goose eggs here in the chat of people that are making $0. There's no shame in this. This is just, it's like an intervention of like, we can do better. There's nothing to be ashamed of. Whether you make money or you're not making money, we just want to see this in front of us so we can realize the truth of whether or not social media is serving us or not. All right, we got 27 euros, our first dollars in the bank. So it's a lot of goose eggs. And you're not alone. 5,000 plus people have come through this workshop, and the majority are making goose eggs from their time on social media, but we keep doing it. So, next question. How many hours per week do you spend on social media? That's creating content, posting, commenting, the never-ending scroll, the quick glances which steal your attention, which steal your connection to the muse, that pull you from your children, that pull you from the guitar, that pull you from the book. How much time per week would you guess you're putting into social media? Share that as well. This is 10 hours. 10 hours is that's the average that I see in this is people putting 10 hours a week in. So 0 right now, good for you. More goose eggs, hour a week. Beautiful. So whatever it is, I'm just going to use 10 because I like round numbers. So let's just pretend you're making, say, $1,000 a month from social media because you have a bit of a strategy. You've got some momentum going with the people that follow your work. So say you're making $1,000 a month and you're putting in 10 hours a week, so 40 hours a month. That's $25 per hour. And so here's the wake-up call. You're all professionals. You're all trying to make a career out of the thing that you do. And $25 an hour is not a career-making move for you. If you're only making $25 an hour, but you want to keep your presence on social media, then pay somebody $25 an hour to do all of your posting for you. You should be doing the things that make you $100 or $200 or $500 or $1,000 an hour. Period. So if you're not making at least $100 an hour, I encourage you for the next 90 to 120 days to eliminate social media and try one of the paths that we're about to get into now. So, how do you do it? How do you build a business without social media? How do you succeed? It's one word. Every year, New Year's Eve, I pick a word to themify my year. And the first 2 years after leaving social media, I had the exact same word. Can anybody guess what it was? This word has shaped my life. It's shaped my business model. It's shaped how I show up in the world and how I connect with people. You got it, Tanya. Relationships. Have you seen this before? It's all about relationships, everybody. I'm not talking about artificial relationships that we have on social media. I'm talking about real world connections. Life is so much more fulfilling when we have these connections. So now's the pen and paper moment. 19 relationship-based marketing strategies. Are you ready? We're going to dig in. This is going to go fast. We're going to save all the questions for the very end, and we'll do some coaching. Number one, the most important thing, your email list. I know we all know this, that you should have an email list, but your email list is the number one strategy that you need to pay attention to. If you're on my email list, you'll see I'm vocal. I email my list usually a couple times a week, sometimes 3 times a week. And it's all like, here's some valuable content. Here's a clip from one of our coaching sessions inside of the Magic Mind. Here's something I'm thinking about. Here's something we struggled with. Hey, here's a success story of somebody that we worked with and what they did to win the game that they're playing. My email list, I'm vocal. Most people are posting daily or several times a day on social media. My email list is my megaphone, and anybody that's on my email list is going to be hearing from me on the regular. If you're one of those people that only email your list once a month or every 2 weeks, think about increasing the volume. Because if you had a friend and you only heard from that friend once a month or on the occasion when they wanted something, how good of a friend would that be? And I treat my email list like a friend. It's like, let's stay in contact. We're walking this path together. And if I'm only touching in when I want something from you, like your money, or if I'm only touching in once every couple weeks with a quick update, are we really walking together? Are we just on our own separate paths? So you want it to feel like you're walking this journey together. So your email list, increase the volume and treat these people like people. Love them up. Give them your best stuff. Tell them your stories. Share case studies of people that you've been working with. Talk about your own struggles. Offer them processes. Share some audio resources. Whatever you got, give it to your email list because they'll be way more likely to buy something down the road from you. Your email list is the number one thing you need to focus on. So if you're sporadic, go to that first. Next up, the reason we're all doing this summer series here is to educate you around your signature workshop. What is a signature workshop, everybody? This is a signature workshop. I didn't mean to create a signature workshop. 2 years ago, Tad asked me, hey, Brad, You've been off social media for 6 years. You seem to be doing well. Could you teach a workshop on what you've done to get off social media and what you found works? This became my signature workshop because we had 1,100 people sign up for this first workshop with Tad, and it was very clear to see that people needed to learn this stuff. So I've been touring this ever since. So your signature workshop is like the base camp of your mountain. So you got all these things you do to drive traffic. It could be your podcast, it could be your YouTube channel, obviously your social media if you're still there. Um, all these different things. You're driving traffic to something. I call this base camp on the journey up the mountain. Your base camp is your signature workshop. This is the new place where new audiences get to discover your work. So what I've been doing is I reach out to people like all of you who are watching this right now. If you want to host this workshop for your audience, reach out to me afterwards. But I reach out to other leaders who have audiences that are aligned with what we do at Magic Media and what I'm teaching about here. And I pitch them on hosting this workshop for their audience privately. And I show up and I do this 60-minute talk. And if people love it and resonate, then there's a call to adventure at the end. And you'll do the exact same thing. So here is the formula of how your signature workshop works. Number one, you're introducing the audience to your story. I just told you a little story. Told you the story about me leaving social media. And then you ground in your philosophy. So my philosophy about how I do business and how I market, it's all relationships based. It's connecting with real people as often as possible. So that's my philosophy. Now, the breakthrough experience is I'm sharing 19 strategies that you could apply to your business, and then you're going to choose 2 of them and you're going to run with those. And that's going to be the breakthrough you're looking for to get you off social media. And then there's a call to adventure. Today's call to adventure, which you'll hear about in a moment, is around joining our signature workshop program where we're going to help you flesh all this out, build your media pages, create your hub list, create your outreach emails, your follow-up emails, set up your booking calendar, and automate the whole thing so you can tour all the time with your workshop. So that's a signature workshop. And if you have questions about it, we'll dig into that at the end. But for right now, I have a very short advertisement from our sponsors of this particular program today, Craft and Tour, your signature workshop. So if you have not checked out this page, I'm going to encourage you all. Tad, could you chuck the link into this? So Tad and I have teamed up on this. Last year, I led it for 57 people. We had 35, at least that I'm aware of, out of the 57 who joined last year's version of this, actually deliver their workshops during the program. So you're going to not just create the program, you're going to learn how to create creative slides like the ones you're seeing today. You're going to learn how to deliver it. You're actually going to deliver it. You're going to learn how to market it, create your hub list, reach out to people so they actually pay attention to you when you reach out cold to have them book you for your workshop. You're going to use our landing page templates. We have media page templates. We have email marketing templates, social media templates. You get all the things to make this really easy so that you can have a plug and play marketing strategy. And this all begins next Thursday, September 12th. We meet every 2 weeks live. There'll be homework between to get done. We have a community space where you're going to be getting coaching and feedback on all the work that you're doing at each stage of the way. You're going to be supported by all the people. We have tons of case studies from the people that did it last year. And by the end of it, you're not just going to have your signature workshop dialed in, you're actually going to be touring it all of next year. You're going to be set up to tour it for all of 2025 so that you have this strategy that does work, that is highly scalable and takes very little time. I will say, in the signature workshop that I'm doing here, Thriving in Business Without Social Media, 35 deliveries, that's 35 hours of teaching time. My administration is less than an hour per delivery of this with the outreach and the back and forth because we've set up the media pages and the email series. And when somebody books us, it's just plug and play, ready to go. So you're going to have all that set up. I'm talking, I've grown my list by over 5,000 people in the last 2 years from doing 35 presentations and maybe 70 hours of actual work. You think about social media, and if we say the average of 10 hours, that's 2 months on social media with very little return. Goose eggs. Goose eggs. Because these people have also, who have been a part of this workshop, have also generated hundreds of thousands of dollars of revenue for Magic Media. And if you checked out Tad's email today or mine earlier this week, we show you exactly how the numbers work. If you get 3,000 people joining your workshop over the course of a year, and you have a $500 offering and a $2,000 coaching package, you can generate $88,000 with like a very modest conversion rate. So that's our commercial. We'll get to more questions towards the end, but I want to make sure we're staying on track with the presentation here because there's still lots to cover. So that's the signature workshop. If nothing else, email list, signature workshop, those are my bread and butters. Next up, why register this year? You've got the emails. You know why to register. If it's for you, feel into it. If you have questions, ask us via email or at the end of this. Next up, licensing. I don't know anybody else that talks about this. So between 2009 and 2012, I taught 500 meditation workshops. I was leading retreats around the world. My brand was called Cowabunga Life, and I just did it 4 times a week for 2.5, 3 years. And that adds up a lot, plus on retreats. And I got tired of teaching meditation. So I partnered with a buddy of mine, Blair. I call him the Great Blair Dini. He still works with me to this day. And we created a world-class audio library, 48 meditation tracks. I think there's even more now, that were all the techniques I was leading inside of my workshops. And then I set out to license those tracks to a bunch of different apps. There's so many companies, apps, institutions that are looking for people like you that are creating world-class content at a high level that they would license your stuff. And I have generated hundreds of thousands of dollars in purely passive income. My meditations, this is just truth, no exaggeration. I've had millions of people go through my meditations online. And the money keeps pouring in. I keep having new licensing partners. Usually once a year, I'll have a new partner. So I've been on all of these. I was Mindvalley's #1 meditation guide on their Omvana app for a long time. So licensing is an amazing way that you can grow your business and your income and reach countless people without having to grow your own audience. All these companies grow the audience for you. They market it. You get a profile. You get a place to put your stuff up there. You can have links that link people to where to find you or to work with you. Some of them, like Aura and Insight Timer, let you do courses. They let you do coaching. There's so much revenue available. And I will say, if you're looking to facilitate transformation on the internet, audio is one of the most powerful ways because you get your brilliant mind inside of other people's minds through their ears, and you can facilitate some beautiful lasting change for them. I do have a course inside the Magic Mind that I led last year. It's a 6-month training for meditation teachers on how to build their meditation business. And that one of the modules in that is around licensing, and it has our 100 different apps that you could reach out to right away. So just want to share that. Next up, guest appearances. So everybody talks about go beyond podcasts, and I've done podcast tours, and I would just share podcasts are a very ineffective way to grow your audience. I have a different strategy that does leverage podcasts, but it's not about podcasting. And that strategy is reach out to podcast hosts to host your signature workshop. If they say yes, then you say, great. Do you want to have me on your podcast before the workshop to promote the free workshop? And if they say no, say, cool. Can I come on your podcast and talk about this topic? So you create 2 different pathways. And here's just a real world example. Last year, I was on the $100 MBA, which is a popular podcast. And we had 120,000 downloads in the first week. Could see it on SoundCloud. And my email list, I was like, it's going to blow up my email list. We had 20 people join my email list that week. Following week, I taught a workshop for that same audience, and my email list grew by over 500 people. So you do the math on how effective podcasts are. And the reason they're not effective is that podcasts, people are passively listening. They're washing dishes. They're driving. At the end, when the host says, where can people find you? And you're like, oh, go to my website, or I have this program coming up. They literally just glaze over and they go to the next podcast. and they forget about it quite quickly. So that's why podcasts don't work as well. Being a guest is great. It builds your brand awareness. That's wonderful, but don't expect to make a bunch of money even on these big podcasts. If you can, get your signature workshop and then upsell them on having you on the podcast beforehand. So that is guest appearances. Next up, profit sharing. What is profit sharing? I love profit sharing. My entire business model is transformed based on some of the ideas that I've had to create collaborations. I would never have been able to partner with so many of the amazing artists and creators that I have over the years had it not been for profit sharing opportunities. So you may not know this, but my family and I started a kids publishing company called Magic Kids, and we're producing the best audio stories that I think might be on the internet. They're pretty incredible. Any of you parents out there, grandparents out there, you should check it out because it's amazing. So we built an app that went live earlier this year, and we have over 700 kids songs from musicians around the world. We have new audio stories every week, and we work with voice actors, with a team of producers that score the music and sound effects. Can everybody make sure they're muted? I can hear some background feedback here. And I created a model called Fair Pay Publishing that pays 50% of the revenue to our artists from our book sales and our app subscriptions. And so we've been able to work with some phenomenal artists without spending hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars on the content that we are producing and creating. I mean, we have invested a lot of money into this company, but it's not what it could have been. So that's a rev share. 50% of our revenue goes into an artist pool. We pay our artists accordingly for the work that they're doing. That's a recent version of that. Magic Media, I changed my business model. It was 5 or 6 years ago. I was tired of client work. I would get so burnt out from these big 6-month projects, and I wanted to figure out a different business model that could honor my inner entrepreneur that wants to be rewarded for the success at the end. And so I created a revenue share model for our Magic Media partners. So instead of spending $50,000 or $100,000 on working with us, we would do a retainer that would be much lower than the initial down payment that we would be charging, and then a revenue share for 2 to 3 years on projects. And we've had certain launches that have, made $500,000 on a launch and upwards of $1 million over the following several years. And those have been so much more successful and fulfilling because it's a long arc journey for us when we're working with these partners. We're all going through this big growth process. So if you're a service provider who's used to just charging your hourly rate, consider the idea of a rev share where you say you would charge $20,000 for a project. Well, maybe you charge $10,000 for the project and you work for an extended period of time and you get a revenue share. It's a beautiful way to partner with people and to make your services more accessible while also having a reward on the other side. So next, hopefully we're learning some stuff here, everybody. Next is collaborations. It's similar, but different. So what you're experiencing right now and in the coming weeks with the Craft Into Your Signature workshop, this is a collaboration between Tad and I. We're both responsible for teaching. We're both responsible for promoting. We've created an agreement around the revenue split, and life is better and easier when we collaborate. When I used to lead retreats around the world, I would be collaborating with people to make it better and easier and more fun for everyone. And so maybe you have some people, some superstar teachers that are in your field or complementary fields that you love, that you adore, that you would just be overjoyed to collaborate with. And maybe it's time to reach out to them and be like, hey, want to put our heads together and figure out a workshop or a training or a series that we could collaborate on and split the marketing and split the revenue and make everybody's life better. And it's a great cross-pollination of your audiences if you were to do something like that. Like this particular summer series, lots of people who have heard of Tad are now getting to know Tad much better and what his work's actually like from my audience and vice versa with Tad's audience through our summer series collaborations. So collaborations, think collaboratively. You don't have to have a massive budget to build your dream project. You just have to be creative and figure out the win-win scenario with the people that you want to work with. Next up, affiliate marketing. Most of us have heard of affiliate marketing. You get people to promote your work, and if they refer sales, then they get paid a percentage. So that percentage might be 10%. It might be 50%. I've seen people do 50%. Lots of people do 50%. I'd never do 50%. It's too much. It's up to you, and it's up to the people that you're promoting. If you're ever going to do affiliate stuff, you have to have a media page. You have to make it so easy for people to promote you. Otherwise, they're just not going to. So, for example, this is one of the things you learn in our series is you create a media page like this with a welcome video. You help them understand what they're doing and how to promote it. You give them a bunch of pre-written promotional emails that they can copy and paste and put in their own links. You give them their social media posts. You give them any extra resources that they might want or need for posting and sharing, banner images, your bio. It's all in one spot so they can easily copy and paste it. If you don't do it a page like this, you could do it in Google Docs, but you have to have it so organized so that the moment they say yes, you give them one link and everything's there. And then closer to the launch, you follow up with them and like, how's it going? Do you need anything else from us? Remember, here's the page to get everything set up and sign up for your affiliate link. If you're doing affiliate links, you don't have to get people to host you. Most people that host my workshop don't do affiliates. So that's something to think about, that don't prevent yourself from going ahead with this strategy if you don't have an affiliate system. So affiliate marketing, it works great if you're organized, and you can really do some amazing work in growing your audience. If you have, say you have a launch coming up in say 6 months from now, you could plan that way in advance and get affiliates to jump on board now so that as the date gets closer, they're well prepped and they've got it in their calendar. You need to approach affiliates well in advance if you're going to do that. Next up, sponsorships. This is something Magic Media is exploring, or Magic Kids is exploring right now, is finding different types of sponsors that are extremely aligned and finding the cross-pollination that could work. So if you're doing live events, if you're doing in-person events, finding local sponsors to do it. So we're launching this game called Chi Ball in the world, and we're doing a big Chi Ball festival, and we've got a whole bunch of different sponsors on our island that are helping to make it even more awesome without us having to spend a whole bunch of money. So we've got the grocery store sponsoring a bunch of food. We've got our dance temple community that's sponsoring all the music and DJs for the day. We've got Magic Kids sponsoring a zone. There's all these different sponsors to make it that much better. So think creatively about how you can collaborate with local businesses. Next, strategic partnerships. So Magic Kids, this is one of our biggest metrics. So for example, we just launched a new partnership with an organization called Soul Shop out of the Bay Area, California. They've been doing social emotional learning work for 20 years. And they approached Magic Media about building them an app, but after a bunch of conversations, it was very clear that what we wanted to do was collaborate. And so we now have all of Soul Shop's content that they were selling to their schools inside of our Magic Kids app. And they paid us a hefty down payment. It was the first big money that Magic Kids made. And we get a percentage of every $1,500 program that they sell in the school system, which over the next year or two, as they grow, I mean, it's straight out of the gate, it'll be 50 to 100 schools. And within the next couple of years, the strategy we're rolling out, it'll probably be 250 to 500 schools. This big revenue. We have another company we just signed called Playaway. Similar to what I've done with my meditations, we're licensing our whole Magic Kids audio library to them, and they'll be rolling it out. They're in 20,000 schools and libraries across the USA. We've got a bunch of other partners that are in conversations, and we'll probably be in contracts very soon with a headphones company that plays stories. There's a baby stroller company that's looking to have all of our audio stories and music integrated into each story. So there's no shortage when you're creative what you can do to leverage relationships to create wealth and tap into other people's audiences. And this was the epiphany I had years ago when I changed my Magic Media business model from taking on clients to doing partnerships. Is all you really need is 5 to 10 partners. If you can leverage 5 to 10 relationships, I can guarantee all of your life's needs will be met if you think strategically. Say that again. 5 to 10 relationships is all you really need. When you leverage those relationships and you find that win-win sweet spot, you have everything that you need to succeed. Next, free coaching Fridays. This was an experiment I started last October. I give away 6 free 15-minute laser focused coaching sessions on Fridays. I'm going to share a link at the end of this and you can book one with me. And I just had so much fun meeting the people on my email list and supporting them. And if they want to join my Magic Mind, they can. If they want to sign up for my signature workshop, but I take notes. I send them the detailed notes that I've taken during these sessions. And it's been a blast. It's been well worth it financially for me. And because I'm not on social media, giving away 2 hours of my time on Fridays to people who are interested in working with me, it's been a blast. I would highly recommend it. Next, family and friends. Everybody thinks just oversees the family and friends like, I got to go outside. But chances are, if you're getting started, this is who you have to tell. You have to tell all your family and all your friends what you're doing, who you help, and how you can serve them, and share a link with them. And do you know anybody? And you might be like, mom might be like, yeah, Gladys, she actually needs exactly what you're doing. And she'll pass your link around. You got to ask your family and friends, especially in the beginning. Don't be too proud. Tell them what you're doing. They might think you're a weirdo, and that's okay. Because if you're a weirdo, you'll be memorable. Next, YouTube Shorts. I don't consider YouTube to be social media. For me, it's entertainment and it's education. It's where I go to learn, and it's where I go to watch funny videos, like stand-up comedy. So YouTube Shorts, I've always been creating. The first video I ever put on YouTube in 2007, you can check it out, it was called The Gratitude Dance. A couple buddies and I made it. It went viral. That basically led to my career. I went on tour for 2 years with my buddy Matthew, and we were teaching workshops and courses and classes. And you can check it out, The Gratitude Dance. It's very grainy. 2007, the videos were not as clear as they are today. But last year, how this can apply to what you're doing is, last year we collaborated with one of the most amazing comedy ads agencies in the world. You've probably seen their videos. They're called the Harmon Brothers. They did the Squatty Potty commercial for the poop stool with the unicorn that poops out rainbows. And we worked with their lead comedian, Ryan, and we wrote 31 comedy ads. This actually led to me starting a writer's room for Magic Kids. And we're now writing so many stories in-house because we wrote these 31 comedy videos. There's my son, Soren. He was a part of our writing team. As his unschooling career, he is a part of a comedy writing team. He writes stories with me. And so we wrote all of these videos, and then we produced them in-house with Magic Media. I'll share the link to this page if you want to check them out. But just to give you an idea of how these can help sell what you're doing, this one video right here has 925,000 views. It still climbs every day. We have 2 million views since we launched these videos in April, and we're not spending money anymore. We put about $10,000 in at the beginning to get them cranking. And we will put more money behind them because they're working. We get 3 to 10 subscriptions per day right now. And I would say 30% of those are through our YouTube ad videos. So here, I'll just show you. Let's go with, we'll just show you this one. This one's really sweet.
Hello, class. Welcome to Play University. Today we're gonna unlock the power of play.
I'd rather unlock the power of a good nap.
First, we're gonna pretend we're in a castle surrounded by dragons. I see we need an easier game. We're now gonna play a game called This Is Not a Banana. Watch and learn. Love raise, zing, zing, zing. Your turn, Mom.
This is a banana.
Dad.
It's boomerangs! That was kind of fun.
This is a challenging case. We're gonna have to bring out the big guns.
Magic Kids, audio stories, music, and imagination meditations.
And fun activities too!
So there you have it. How little comedy could go a long way. That's been an amazing brand builder for Magic Kids. It's built our email list. It's built a lot of trust. Our YouTube channel went from like 60 subscribers to think we're around 3,000. I love comedy, so we just went all in on comedy. We have about 20 more that we're working on right now behind the scenes. So think about how you can be creative. If you love making media, but you don't love social media, YouTube shorts are amazing. YouTube is rewarding short videos under 60 seconds because they're trying to compete with TikTok. So it's a good strategy if you love that kind of creative capacity, but you don't want to be on social media. Next up, comedy ads. So that's what we just did there. Workshop tour. When I was teaching meditation, I would pick cities. And so, for example, I go to Edmonton every year. Tad, thank you so much for hosting me at your home when you're living in Edmonton. And I would teach 5 meditation workshops in a week. They would be paid. So it'd be like, imagine your signature workshop, but an hour and a half to 2 hour version of it that you actually charge money for because it's longer and it's in person. So I would do this 2 hour intro in an evening at yoga studios, at wellness centers, etc. I'd fill the room usually because they would do all the promoting and keep a percentage. And then I would sell my audio library. Usually I had my library was $100 at the time, and I would offer 40% off. They bought that night. I would sell 60% of the room on my audio library, and then I would sell a day-long workshop at the end of the week. And I'd usually get 20% of the people coming to that, and I'd go home and my pockets were full. So I don't know why, but people love when the outsiders come in to teach a workshop. And so if you go to another city that you have connections with, and you can get a place to stay for a week, then you just phone up all the yoga studios, the wellness centers, whatever aligned hubs might be there. You get them to host you, you book them all in a cluster of times, and then you drop in and you teach, you make money teaching, you sell, and then maybe you sell an online program or a longer retreat or whatever it is that you want to do. Workshop tours are so fun if you like to travel. So I'd recommend that. And then here's some other just strategies that we've done for Magic Kids. Press releases, selling in retail stores, markets and trade shows, local partners, generosity marketing. This was actually how we got our foot in the door with the Harmon Brothers. When we launched Magic Kids, we had 18 books in our first year. And I reached out to the Harmon Brothers. And I was like, we love what you're doing. How many parents do you have on your team? We want to send you a box of books as a thank you for the good work you're doing. And we sent 120 books down to the Harmon Brothers. And that led to 5 conversations with their head of marketing and their business director. And they never would have worked with us. But they loved what we're doing. They loved us. And they designed a consulting co-writing package for us that it's not even something that they offer on their menu. They liked the enthusiasm. And I didn't take no for an answer when they said, we can't work with you. You're too small. And so we did, and we figured it out, and it was amazing. And that started with generosity marketing of like, we love your company. We want to gift you this box of books, no strings attached. And they said yes. Audience contests as well. So there you have it. That's 19 relationships-based marketing strategies. Now, I'm not saying that you should quit social media today. Social media can work for some people, and it does. So the ways it can work is if you have a clear strategy. If you have a publishing schedule, you are all media companies. If you're teaching on the internet, you're a media company. You need to be making media, whether it's video or written. You need to have a schedule. How often do you publish? So that you can get into a rhythm and a flow with your creative work that you're here to do. You need to be disciplined. My family and I now have a rule after hours in our household. My studio here that I'm in is detached from our main part of the house, and we keep our phones in here so we're not looking at them. Hire a team. You can find somebody to run your social media that has way more enthusiasm for it for very cheap if you need to have a presence there. And make your work art. And the other way it can work, which is not here, which I'm going to add for the next delivery of this, because I always try and improve this, is to have a big budget. If you want to be seen on social media, you got to pay for it in most cases. But the Make Your Work Art, this is the next signature workshop that I'm going to be developing myself during the Craft and Signature Workshop tour or training that Tad and I are doing. I'm making my next signature workshop that is less marketing focused and more creative focused around turning your life's work into a work of art, which is what I've learned to do as an entrepreneur and an artist. So we use Mighty Networks. If you love aspects of social media, but you want to bring it home, we use Mighty Networks. We've built somewhere between 18 and 20 over the last 4 or 5 years. And it's great because you can have your own forum. There's so many different types of business models that you can do inside of it. You can live stream, have events of videos. You can create course libraries. And it's endless what you can do inside of Mighty Networks. If you haven't heard of Mighty Networks, check it out. It's what our Magic Mind community that I offer runs in. It's what Tad's community and Marketing for Hippies runs in. And even if you've seen our versions of it, there's so many other ways that you can run a Mighty Network. My invitation to all of you is to give yourself a gift and evaluate your marketing strategy. Is it working? Is it not working? Are you getting the results you like? Do you feel fulfilled and excited when it comes to the marketing stuff? Because you do have to market. Decide if what you're doing works for you and your business. Spend a day or even half a day this weekend making a plan. Go for a long walk with a journal. And based on the strategies we talked about today, pick 2 and map out that strategy. Leave social if you must. I will say I don't miss it. And if you want to tour your signature workshop and you want support with that, then join the training. The link is there. Tag, can you post the link in the chat again? And before we get to some Q&A, I'm also going to share a PDF version of today's workshop so that you can see the 19 strategies as a checklist with a little description as a reminder of how they work. And when this gets posted on YouTube, please share this workshop on your social media because I'm not on social media. I can't do it. So I need your help to do that before you leave social media. Make this your last post maybe. But before we get into the Q&A, take 2 minutes and write down your top 2 strategies from today that were like light bulb moments for you on what you're going to go all in on so that you can leave social media. Let's take 2 minutes. I got my timer going, and then we'll get into some Q&A. Top 2 strategies. Once you get them written down, share in the chat. Beautiful. I'm seeing lots coming in here. So Emily, more partnerships and collaborations. I would encourage you to dive in a little deeper with that. And what does that mean? What kind of partnerships, what kind of collaborations would you be most excited for? Catherine, collaborations in a workshop tour. Beautiful. Nano, email list and free coaching Fridays. It's very, very satisfying, I will say. And some weeks I get 1, some weeks I get 6. You know, it just kind of hit and miss. Amy says, oh, and I'm going to share the link to the free coaching Fridays in just a moment once I read through these. Amy, continue your weekly email and build your workshop. Alicia's signature workshop and YouTube shorts. Fun. The more creative you get, the more fun you have. I use an app called CapCut to do all my video editing. It's super fun on my phone. Jan, licensing and affiliate. And apps are one thing. There's institutions, there's companies, there's teacher training organizations that you could piggyback onto. There's so many different things. If you're creating really amazing content that's professional, that sounds and looks good, then they may want to do it because most of these big companies that are doing the licensing, they don't have the bandwidth or the capacity or the talent and team to be building all the content, which is why they're looking for people like you. Aliza, create a signature workshop and focus on collaborative partnerships. Gail, email marketing and workshop. Tony, get your email list organized and give stuff away without an expectation of selling. Beautiful. Rajuna, 1 hour workshop tour. Awesome. Collaboration and collaboration. Yeah, collaboration is the best. Tanya's signature workshop and collaboration. Tony, YouTube shorts. If you want to check out the YouTube shorts stuff that we did for Magic Kids, go to Magic Kids, MAJIK, kids.com/comedy. You can binge those today to get inspired about some funny ideas. Cheryl's signature workshop and free coaching Fridays. Melanie, YouTube and email list. Nano, YouTube shorts. Jay, signature workshop and collaborations. Beautiful. Mel, start an email list. Do it today. Just pick a tech and go with it. We use ConvertKit, but you can use whatever you want. There's no shortage of different tech you can use to start your email list. And letting your family and friends know about your business. Perfect. Free Fridays and email list. Awesome. This goes on and on here. So thank you. Thank you for sharing those. I really hope that you all take the time to actually map out your strategy and what you need to do, make your to-do list and figure it out and be disciplined so that you can get off social. There's a bunch of links there. One to the signature workshop page, my Magic Mind community. If you're looking for deeper levels of coaching, that also includes a coaching session when you join for your first month. The Magic Kids app, our comedy videos, the 15-minute coaching link. Those are first come, first serve. I think tomorrow is almost filled up. So you'd be looking at next week or the week after. And then if you're looking for partnerships, we have a page for that too. And Tad, yes, Tad's signature workshop is happening on Monday. So this is, Tad and I worked on this last year and he's been refining, and now he's delivering. If you're not signed up for this, you can sign up at our events page. And just so you know, all of the events, the recordings are on the page that you registered for this particular series. Oh yeah, thank you for the PDF. Yes, I will share. Here's the PDF link to recap everything that we did today. And now, yeah, thanks there, Tad. So this is Tad's. Tad, do you want to just share a little bit for a moment on what you're going to be teaching in the workshop?
Yeah, sure. So this, I'm very excited about it. It'll be my 5th time doing it online. I only did it once in person. I've had a day-long workshop that I toured for years and years and years. And Bradley said, "Do you think you can get it down to an hour?" I thought, oh God. But I thought, I think I can finally. And so that's been my challenge. And I did it months ago in Vancouver live. And just Monday and Tuesday, I did it once on Monday, once on Tuesday. Of course, I put in way too much content. I'm doing it again for my members this afternoon. And then for my Facebook group, I'm doing it again on Sunday. So by the time I get to you, it should be even tighter. I've been having so many ideas. I'm so proud of it, so excited. We're going to be getting into the how do we market in a way that feels good for yourself, but also people receiving it and anybody witnessing it. How do we market in a way that is ethical, but also effective? And really looking at how do we deal with the desperation that we feel as entrepreneurs, and what is the antidote to that desperation, which is understandable. So I've got some thoughts about that. I'm really looking forward to sharing with you.
Beautiful. Can't wait. Can't wait. All right, let's dive into some Q&A. I'm happy to go over a little bit here for another 10 or so minutes. So Tad, did you see any questions that you want to go to first, or shall we pick at random?
Well, I would say at this point, throw your question in the chat if you got it, just so it's right there at the bottom, so you don't have to fish for it. Feel free to cut and paste your question if you'd like more perspective. But yeah, if you're thinking about getting off social media, where do you feel stuck? What's the thing that would, even if you want to, you feel maybe held back in some way, or a big question you have about it? What's the biggest question you have about how to make a transition away from social media to these more relationship-based strategies?
Yeah.
What's most on your mind?
I did see a question earlier that I whizzed past while going through, but somebody asked, what if you don't feel like your niche is dialed in?
Oh, yeah. So my sense on that is just start with what you have. Do your best. Don't ignore the niche, but start with what you've got, and it will clarify over time. And the clearer your niche gets, the better all these strategies will work. There's no such thing as not having a niche. I mean, you're doing something. You're a coach. I mean, even if you're just a life coach, that's a niche. That's not nothing. So, but start with what you have. Start with what's clear. Yes, it's worth digging into your niche. Yes, it's worth getting some coaching on this, taking some courses on it, getting some support, thinking it through. Yes, that's all important. And it never really ends, the niching thing. I mean, you will hit some nice plateaus where you kind of find a sweet spot. But start with what you have, and also know that often it's the getting it out there that helps you hone your niche. You know, there's two parts of niching. One, you got to reflect and just think about what do you want. But the other is you have to try some things. You've got to experiment and get out there. And the mistake people make, one of them with niching, is they just stay in their head too long thinking about it. At a certain point, you just got to get out there, try things, see who you like to work with, who you don't like to work with. So as long as you're also then reflecting, excuse me, on those experiences, it's all good.
And I'll say the first session next Thursday is all about niching, really refining your niche so you're targeting the right people. And so you're going to be feeling so clear because you're going to be getting tons of feedback on your niche inside of the community space and in that session. So if your niche if it's still fuzzy, we're going to help you with that so that as you're designing your workshop, you're designing it for a very specific and clear group of people.
Yeah, so Mona Lisa had a question. So when you say you offer your podcast to a podcast host, would that be one of their episodes?
So it's different all the time, but typically the way that I go about it is I reach out. So let's just say I go through the first 10 pages of Google and I'm looking up Conscious Entrepreneur Podcast. And so I go through the first 10 pages, I find all the websites, I find all those contacts. The reason I focus on podcasts is podcast hosts are typically the types of people who are used to having interviews and people reach out to them for an interview. So I reach out to them, say, your podcast looks super cool. I've got this workshop, Thriving in Business Without Social Media. Would you be interested in hosting this workshop for free for your audience? And I'll come teach it. So I'm not even mentioning getting an interview on their podcast in my outreach email. I'm just like, would you be interested in hosting this workshop for your audience? Oftentimes, the ones that do say yes, they reach back and like, that sounds really cool. Let's do it. When I get the yes, then I ask them, are you interested in having me on your podcast before the workshop to promote the workshop? And if they say no, then I ask them, would you be interested in having me on the workshop instead? Or they'll say, no, I don't want to host the workshop, but let's talk about that topic on my podcast. And those are kind of the scenarios of how it goes. Sometimes like if I'm teaching a workshop, my signature workshop, it will become a podcast like this. What I just did today is going to be one of my new podcasts on the Making Magic podcast. And if I host other people's podcasts or other people's signature workshops, I've got a bunch that I'm hosting coming up this fall for people. Then those I also turn into a podcast because some people just like to consume that way. So hopefully that answers all the ways that it works with podcast collaborations.
All right.
And that I saw this just kind of feeds into the next one is like, is this paid or is this free? Your signature workshop, when you're teaching it online, is free. It's a free 60-minute. This is how you build your email list, how you get in front of new audiences is you tour your signature workshop and it's free. Now, if I was taking my same signature workshop, but I was stretching it out to be like a 90-minute or 2-hour experience and I was delivering it in person, say like community work hubs or something like that in a city, then I would probably charge money for it and I would make it more in depth. There'd be more coaching, there'd be more breakout sessions. But I learned straight away 60 minutes is the time investment. Don't do a 90-minute, 60-minute or 90-minute workshop. Do 60 minutes because people they'll balk at the 90 minutes. I don't have time for an hour and a half. 60 minutes is an easy, low investment of time for people to jump into.
So Concha said, you talked about partnerships. Does your workshop cover negotiating with wellness partners? What is the split like and what should we expect?
This particular training does not get into negotiating with wellness centers and that, but I do cover that inside of my Magic Mind, but without having to pay me money for that wisdom. It's every center has their own way of doing it. So some might be like it's a 60-40 split. Others might be 70-30. But if you are negotiating contracts with wellness centers or yoga studios, etc., you want to make sure that they are going to promote it, that they're going to hang up posters, they're going to send out at least a couple emails promoting the workshop and the event. You got to make sure it's really clear on what's included. Some of them might charge you a fee. They might be like, we don't do revenue share. It's just a flat fee of you're paying $300 for our space, but we will promote you. So it's different every single time. And the more you do it, the more you'll see the commonalities.
Also, question about how many emails is too much, basically, because first, every time you email, people are going to leave your email list. So, how much is too much? What's your sense on it?
I really like Ross's strategy around email every day you want to make money. If you have something worth saying, if you have stuff that's valuable, then share it. Like my open rates, when I went from a weekly email to 2 or 3 sometimes, my open rates went from 20 to 40+%. People started opening more and paying more attention to my work when I started being more in contact with them. And yes, people will unsubscribe. That's just the nature of the game. But the people who are actually on the journey and in your canoe with you and paddling up with you down the stream, they are going to be so stoked that you're so generously sharing what you have to share. And here's the thing, you're not going to win everybody over. And if people don't want to open every email, they can quickly delete them. I delete most of the emails I get in my inbox unless it really grabs me.
Yeah, write good subject lines is really key. Sometimes there's these very nebulous subject lines, and I would just recommend be really clear what's in the email so people can see, do I want to open this or not? Is this relevant to me or not? Helps them decide. And that's like the thing that bothers me is I'll get emails that you have all the emails are nebulous, kind of clickbaity. When I open it, it's like, oh, this isn't relevant to me. And then, it's like you cried wolf enough times, and now I'm just getting off this list because this is frustrating. Okay.
And I'll just say on the email list side, if you currently email once a month, then up it to a weekly email. If you're emailing weekly, then see what happens for a month when you start emailing twice a week with valuable content to share. And what our first workshop of the summer series was around telling your origin story. And if you're not using storytelling as a part of what you're sharing to your audience, you're missing out on these incredible human-centric ways of connecting with your audience and building a deeper level of trust and respect and just sharing your human self with them. So stories are really important. That's on our events page where you signed up for this.
Yeah. Then we've got Maisie said, I don't know if I understand this question. I don't want to tour around in person, and social media seems like it's for people who also take online courses. I feel stuck selling on social media to people who engage in asynchronous learning and or live or online. Okay, so it's like if I tour it live, I'm going to reach people who maybe aren't as keen to be online. And so I should probably tour online. I'm not sure. Maisie, can you clarify your question? I'm not sure, Bradley, if you understand. I'm a little lost.
Yeah, I can clarify my question. Thanks. I didn't know how to write it. Like, I feel like that the people I need to talk to are the people who do things like what we're doing right now. They are not the people. I don't want to do stuff in person. When you say tour around, I think you mean or tour your workshop. I think you mean go to community center, go do all of the sort of live in-person stuff. I don't want to do live in-person stuff.
Okay,
so your signature workshop, we're teaching you to tour it virtually. So this delivery that we're doing today, there's two different, I talked about two different strategies there. Your signature workshop essentially is you're touring a virtual workshop, a 60-minute workshop that gets you in front of new audiences, that builds your email list so that all of a sudden you have a steady stream of new people being introduced to your work, and some of those people are going to want to work with you. The workshop tour that I also spoke about, which I can see why you'd be confused, is picking cities and touring to different cities where you're charging money for those workshops.
Awesome. The last question from Marieka. So in terms of creating a podcast, I'm understanding from what you shared that it's not the best way to make money, but do you agree there are other benefits? Okay, so Bradley was saying getting interviewed on podcasts. It's just the challenge is people are consuming it passively. They're not live in a call focused, and it's better. That's just a better deal for you. You're going to get better results for your email list, for people signing up for stuff if they're live. And if you get interviewed on a podcast, it's going to be they listen while they're going for a walk or doing the dishes, and probably not going to be in a space to write something down. And when the podcast ends, another podcast starts, and they've moved on.
I personally think everybody who is in the space of thought leadership, coaching, teaching should have a podcast because it's so easy to do now. It's so easy to set up. You could have your podcast up and running within an hour. And for my podcast, I have hundreds of episodes. And inside my Magic Mind, we do 3 coaching sessions a week. And I start each session with like an opening sermon, a business coaching sermon. It's like a mini little class. And then I take that little, it might be a 3-minute clip, it might be 7 minutes, it might be 15 minutes. I grab that clip and that becomes a podcast episode. And so if you're coaching and you have these moments of brilliance, you could capture those little moments and turn those into podcast episodes and share those moments of brilliance with the world. Because even though going on other people's podcasts is not like an immediate revenue builder in most cases, having a podcast that your people who like to follow your work can either read your article. And when you see my newsletter, everybody, you're seeing that I have a written version, a podcast version, and a video version almost every single time. I have a very fast workflow that I teach that basically I can create the video, written, and podcast version in a matter of minutes and have my newsletter ready to go. And so if you give people the 3 different mediums that they love to consume, then you're hitting all the ways that people can consume your content and the work that you're doing, which improves the likelihood that you're going to make those connections and that people will be more likely to want to work with you. But podcast, it's a great way for you to have your voice in the world, and it's low tech and it's easy to set up.
Really? Well, I think that's it, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. And hope we'll see some of you. Are any of you going to be in the signature program? No pressure at all. But I'm just curious. Anyone coming for the 3 months? All right. Maybe yes. I mean, whether this or not, there's lots of great marketing stuff out there. But Pierre, you're coming. Great.
Watch tomorrow. There's a case study email that literally just came into my inbox from one of our Magic Mind members who just did her first 22 emails and she just did her first 2 deliveries. And so she sent me this message the other day saying, my mind is absolutely blown. Here's what happened. And so I share her story of what her metrics were. And I mean, she had a 36% success rate on email outreach to people booking her. And she had one of her biggest weeks in business after delivering her 2 workshops over the course of 2 days to her first 2 audiences. So that story's coming out. Give you paint a picture. And the email you sent today, Tad, and the one I sent the other day showing the chart can really help you just see what it takes and what's possible.
Yeah, exactly. Shannon was saying, if we give away our info and services for free, then what are we selling? Is what we're selling, does it need to be different? I mean, something related but deeper, more expanded. Yeah, I mean, the info is not the thing. It gives people context, but then people need help with application and translation. How does this work for me? And okay, niching is important, but what's my niche? Great, I get the signature workshops make sense, but what's my signature workshop? People still need the hand-holding, an application.
Yeah. And your signature workshop, it's the base camp. It's the start of the mountain where you, hey, I'm your guide. We're going up to that mountain, which is whatever the ultimate transformation or the result is that you provide. And here's my story. Here's my philosophy. Here's your first breakthrough in working with me. The call to adventure is, I have this training coming up. I have this coaching program. I have this membership. I have this audio library. And that's going to help you get up to the top of the mountain that we're climbing here together.
Yeah.
And so your signature workshop is just base camp where they can decide if they want to go climb a big mountain with you. Metaphorically speaking, of course, unless you are a mountain guide, in which case this makes perfect sense.
Yeah. So, our hope is that whether or not you join this program, just try it.
Yeah.
Try a signature workshop. I mean, the worst case, email your list and say, I've got some ideas, loosely organized. It's going to take about an hour. Who's in? And then make an offer and see what happens. It might blow your mind what happens when you actually, even with people on your list who you think are familiar with your work, you might be amazed at the response that you get from just getting in front of people and sharing what you do. I will say this, one of the reasons to get off social media is this. One of the big reasons people go on social media is to hide. People think I'm being visible on social media, but actually people go on social media to hide, because then I don't have to talk to anybody. I don't have to engage real people. It can be a way to actually avoid doing the marketing instead of doing the marketing. So if you're going to be on social media, at least don't be there to hide. And just consider trying a signature workshop. I mean, you could do that tomorrow. You could email your list and you say, hey, in 2 days, I'm going to do this. I'm going to try this out. I'm going to give you the best of my ideas in 1 hour, and just see, you'd learn. There we go.
I love it. I love it. That was well said. I may use that someday, Tad.
Oh, man, yeah, it's a good one.
I would quote you.
Yeah, we should wrap up. But if you have any other questions, please feel free to email. Probably Bradley's best, bradley@magicmedia.com. Happy to answer any questions. I'm happy to answer Tad, marketingforhippies.com too. Thanks for coming. And
Thank you,
can you
everybody.
share the PDF link one more time?
Yeah, here's the PDF link one more time. There you go, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I can't wait to see where this leads you in the next 90 to 120 days as you implement one or two of those strategies we spoke about. It works. You don't need social. They need you.
That's
Peace.